And everyone's cynical and feels that, maybe they're not going to do what they've promised to do, which sort of hurts, because I'd hate to feel that I'd said something that was not going to happen, and I'd be the first to be doing something about it if that happened, I hope. But yes, I think, but again, that's, I think, government's problem. How do we communicate to people? How do we let people know? Because I think if you know what the steps are and you understand what's going on, then maybe that will be, the community will be a bit more understanding. But on the other hand, if it's taken you 3 hours to get to work and back, and your kids are asleep and you don't even get a chance to see them, maybe you just be angry no matter how long. Because the other question is, why didn't it happen 10 years ago?
Community in Thomastown and how Bronwyn sees it.
Well, I think one of the things, because before I was a Member of Parliament, I did various odd jobs and things, and I also worked for a union, the Metalwork or the Food Preservers Union it was. So I used to organise people at the Nestle factory and places like that. Actually, Chris's Dips in Thomastown. In some ways, I got to know some individual people that lived in Thomastown in that way. But I lived a pretty busy work life, and I'd sort of either be home or work. And I found when I was elected as a Member of Parliament, I just opened my mind and eyes to the fantastic sort of voluntary work and the skills and the talents and everything that people have, that you wouldn't just, not that I didn't think people didn't have them, but you just didn't think about them at all. And yeah, that still really blows me away, to just get around to various functions or even this, what you do. Like, it's all, it's just so good. And so I think there really is a community within Thomastown, and it is a little bit different to Laylaw or to Reservoir, very different to Reservoir. Maybe the lines in Thomastown and Laylaw are a bit more blurred. But yeah, I think there is a real community spirit where people do a heap of work giving back to the community, ask for nothing in return, just do it to make a contribution, to help other people. And when I first started, I was all excited. We have an international chess champion also that lives in Thomastown. This is and I'm just I can't remember how I found out, but actually I think someone came to see me, not him, but somebody else, because they were looking to raise some money to go to an overseas competition. In the end, he didn't go. That was sort of his choice. But yes, he was certainly had a ranking.
What can we expect to see in keeping Thomastown a bustling suburb?
I think Thomastown is, as an established suburb, we've got to make sure that it's not left behind or ignored in terms of the growth, the sort of real demands and needs of the growing suburbs as well. So I would hope that we're going to do, as I said, I would like to have some projects such as beautification of the Edgars Creek, the Whittlesea Gardens on Barry Road, that really needs to be fixed up. We've sort of got a petition going on around that. Completing the Edgars Road, we've sort of got a petition in terms of, because that's the council part, that they're responsible for that, to making sure that's completed. Because even though it goes into the new area, it also means that it helps the established areas, because at the moment a lot of people are coming down from that area because there's no schools, there's no shops, there's no this, there's no that. But if you sort of build those things in those areas, people then won't congest so much the road, say, in Thomastown as well. Because there's a real having to share the infrastructure that's in Thomastown, which caters for the people that live in here, but now there's further demand on it because people don't have it in other areas.
Edgars Road starts at Marnie's Road, Thomastown, through the Laylaw and up to Cooper Street, Epping. Cooper Street is very busy. The Edgars Road continuation to North Epping, Wollert, needs to be joined. Miller Street and High Street are way too congested now.
Well, I'm not sure what it is now, but when Labor negotiated with the council before the election to do the Hearns Road, the roundabout and the interchange, it was all part of that project was Edgars Road, and that was the part that because it's a council road, and that was the part that council agreed. As part of that agreement, they would complete Edgars Road, and then the state would do all the rest. Then what happened, we understand, and I don't know if this is a malicious rumour or not, because I've other times been told that it's not true, that there was some problem with purchasing some of the land to build the road, that somebody didn't want to sell, or maybe the price was too high or whatever. I've since been told that that may not be the case, so I'm not really an authority on that bit, but there's things that governments can do. So local government can acquire the land compulsorily if they wanted to be serious about it, and in the greater good, I think that definitely should have happened or should happen. Miller Road should be for industry. That should be dropping off trucks, dropping off bits and pieces. That's an industrial sort of estate there. So it's not good for the economy, it's not good for the locals, trying to get around. Another road they were talking about was Gatehouse Boulevard as one to connect up. That seems to have been, I haven't heard anything else about that one, but that was one that was being considered as well, my understanding. Yeah, but you look at the rest of Edgars Road, because it sort of doesn't go anywhere. It's beautiful, 2 double lanes there, and no one's on it.
Is Bronwyn talking about Thomastown and its future?
I think it has a good future, I guess. But one of the problems has been unemployment, and I've noticed that often in some of the bigger, better paying workplaces around here, people that from Thomastown actually don't work there. They're people from Greensborough or Bundoora, and I'm not quite sure why that is. I don't know if it's because of different skills. I don't know if it's because in the past, I guess Thomastown's been considered, and still is in a lot of ways, but I think it's changing a little bit, more transient. There is quite a large group of people that are sort of just coming, renting, and then moving off somewhere else. So I guess that's the other side of Thomastown. And, you can cut this out because it's been a plug, but I actually believe it. One of the things that I feel really good about in terms of there being a sort of a Labor state government is around things like, on all our government projects, 10% have to be apprentices. Kids from our areas sort of to get a go in getting a trade so that they've got a future, job prospects and a future into the, to buy their own house, to do the things that we all sort of aspire to do. And the other thing is about procurement, where we're sort of saying that you have to buy local things. And why I say that, especially over here, is if you look at the sort of industry that's around here, metal fabrication and sheet metal work is a big industry. Lots of little companies, sort of the owner works there as well. But that's the local content for the rail removals. Any metal structures will be coming from companies that are around here. I remember doing a bit of a survey on some of these metal companies saying, what can the government do to help, blah, blah, blah. And the sort of sad thing is that no, government's never given us anything, no, they can't do anything, nothing we need. And then in talking to people, they'd say, actually, we got a lot of work. It was really great when they were doing those, building all those schools. So this is a government policy that has given work to businesses to then sort of hire people, much better than getting rid of penalty rates. But people don't see the connection. I think this is a real failing with government, and I don't know how you do it because I'm no better at it. How do you sort of show how important government policy actually is with everyday life? Because at the moment we just sort of think, they're all no good and they just should be building roads and that. No, but policy that you can't see also has a huge effect, probably more than a building.
New residents, that is, usually migrants and ex-asylum seekers, how do they fit into Thomastown in relation to politics and asking for help?
A sad thing is, I think, and this is probably changing because the change in the population, but of some of the older residents, I think this is also newer residents too now, because if you've come from a country of dictatorship or I don't know, where different points of view are frowned upon or whatever it is, you're a little bit wary and sort of worried about authority. So, for example, the Italian community, those of Italian background, first generation, it's sometimes very hard for them to even sign a petition because they're worried that, what will happen. We had a case where a woman's house had been completely flooded with sewage, and when I wanted to go to Melbourne Water, maybe they'll cut my water off if I complain. So maybe under Mussolini, these things might have happened. Maybe even now, I don't know. But and I think similarly there may be a reluctance or a distrust, even more so than the sort of Anglo-Aussie mistrust in, say, some of the Arabic-speaking communities. Actually, definitely, they do tell me there is. And a lot of politicians overseas are getting millions of dollars, driving around in big car convoys and living it up, and you're not even allowed to sort of speak to your member of parliament. So I guess we've got to try to break down all those barriers as well. And I think here is one of the better places if you come into a new country and you've been in the most horrific place before. I think places like Thomastown, without being trying to sound a bit suck or something, are probably some of the better places you'd want to be, because there really is, I think, a lot of goodwill, a lot of care, and sort of understanding, I suppose, as well.